Here in the United States, we just celebrated the Labor Day holiday, which traditionally marks the end of summer. Now, for the northeastern coast of the United States, it's usually a very lucrative month that brings millions of tourists to the eastern shore. But it wasn't so much the case this year. Superstorm Sandy hit the northeastern coast of the United States about 10 months ago, and the latest numbers indicate that places on the Jersey Shore are still feeling the impact. The area has reported a $4 million drop in beach badge passes sales, which are seasonal passes for the beach. Some areas have even seen an 80% drop. For more on the impact of tourism, I spoke to Virginia Tech professor Muzaffer Uysal. He's the co-author of Handbook of Tourism and Quality of Life, The Missing Links. Consider this: the total contribution from tourism to the world GDP grew by 3% last year. What makes this remarkable is that growth is faster than the world economy as a whole, which only grew by 2.3%. So I asked, is this likely to continue?
Well, it looks like that is the really right number, because you have a couple of international groups that back up that number. That includes United Nations, World Tourism Organization, and World Travel Tourism Council. And I think it's a good estimate. And assuming that we don't see a lot of unrest all over the world or reduced tension in some parts of the world, I think that figure is sustainable.
I'm going to get to the tensions in a minute, but let me pick up on Spain and Greece. The GDP, because of tourism, has gone up. Is this sustainable, or will it fade once the summer ends? And what does this mean for their battered economies?
Well, this is an interesting question, and we know what's going on in the Mediterranean region. So you have more competitors, at least in the northern part. That includes from Portugal all the way to part of Middle East, and Turkey is a strong competitor. So even if summertime you see larger influx of people migrating from the Central European countries towards the southern coastal destinations, and that may slow down once the season is over. But I think the challenge is how do you get overseas visitors to that part of Europe? I think that's a big challenge. I think they have to kind of reinvent themselves and then reposition themselves in the Mediterranean region.
Well, let me jump in at this point and ask you about Egypt, because you brought up tensions. Huge drop in tourism there. There's been so much unrest. How lasting an impact can this have on their economy?
Looking at some of the countries that have experienced unrest, it could be a temporary event. It may not last for a long time. But I think for a country like Egypt, where we see unrest and tension almost on a daily basis, that would really hurt the image of the country as a destination. So I guess it may not last for a long time, but in this case, I just suspect that tourism is not going to be as strong as it has been in the past. So they really have to do a lot of work to get this country as a destination back on the world maps.
And we've done stories about Peru, which is pushing ecotourism, Taiwan also trying to court people for medical procedures. What would you say is the next big thing?
There's so much going on in terms of new things in tourism. One thing that comes to my mind at this time is about really luxury tourism. It's kind of interesting, and a lot of countries have these small boutique luxury places where the emphasis is on sustainable business and management practices. With this comes then spiritual tourism and spa and health and wellness, or quality of life based tourism. So there's really a big movement going on in this area, luxury tourism, but combined with the notion of sustainability, wellness, and health.
Let me jump in here and just ask you, we've only got about 20 seconds. Okay. Over the last decade or so, which country has done the best job of courting travelers, would you say?
Well, I guess I would say as a region, South American countries seem to be doing pretty well, but a country like Turkey has also, being pretty strong. Now it is in top 10, tourist receiving countries in the world. So, and then a country like Russia is doing reasonably well. And of course, you look at China and the Pacific Asia, and I think you see a good growth in that part of the world. But looking at Latin American countries, South or Central, they have done reasonably well. And the kind of places you mentioned, like Peru, and you're talking about double-digit growth in the number of arrivals. So that's pretty encouraging.